Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Nope, it's just a strange guy in a mask. Welcome to What the Washington, a historical, social, and political tour of the weirdest state in the nation. My name is Michaela.
I'm Matt.
And today we are going to be talking about Seattle superhero Phoenix Jones.
Oh boy.
The coolest guy you have ever met.
Very normal guy.
Matt, have you ever encountered have you ever encountered the certain masked individual known as Phoenix Jones?
No, thank God.
Do you know who he is? Tell me what you know about him.
I know that he was really big in the 2010s, probably the end of the 2000s, but he really was he's like a guy who did dressed up like a superhero and just made the whole city quite a mess for a little bit. I mean, it wasn't his fault, but it is kind of his fault too. He contributed to a real toxic culture in Seattle, in my opinion, but that's my opinion.
Well, today I'm going to be talking about the history of Phoenix Jones that you may not know. You may know. I don't know. I don't know you. I don't know your life. So I'm gonna go through the start of Phoenix Jones, who was under the mask, some controversies, and then where he is today. And let me tell you, this is going to be a long episode because I have 5 pages of notes. And the Bikini Barista episode, which was pretty long, was only 4 pages. So I have quite a bit to talk about, and I'm sure you'll have plenty of commentary to contribute.
I'm just used a little line that now I think I'm just I wish I was there in Seattle at the time and had seen him, because I would have said, no one cared who you were before you put on the mask.
That might be true. Who knows? Phoenix Jones was a superhero who gained national attention for patrolling the streets of Seattle in a yellow and black mask and rubber costume, which included a bulletproof vest, a ballistic cup, stab plates, taser, nightstick, and mace.
He should get a better hobby.
Matt, do you want to guess how much this suit cost him?
Easy $500.
Yeah.
Easily.
Way more.
Probably $5,000 altogether.
Yeah, it is $10,000. This suit cost him $10,000.
Man, just get a ballistic plate like everyone else. Jesus.
Phoenix Jones looms large in my memory, and perhaps that is because this happened when I was in high school and I just retained it because of how ridiculous it is. But I have spoken to many people who have asked me, what is this episode about? And I say, oh, it's about Phoenix Jones. And they're like, I have no idea who that is. And
how did we memory hold this so fast?
Deep in my memory. This is like a formative memory of Seattle for me. I don't know why. But I remember him very...
I was embarrassed by this particular individual because he was in Seattle when I was living there. And he just... That level of he's a superhero discourse... Mm-hmm. It was the news ate that up, and I was like, he's not really helping anything. He might be helping, but he might probably not be helping, so.
This is the first time that I'm kind of convinced that the person that we are talking about will be hearing this episode. Because I'm convinced this man has Google alerts about his name.
Oh, wow.
Convinced.
Is it that bad?
I just, it seems so in character with him. That is my assumption of him. That he is the type of person to Google alert his name. Which, hey, sometimes Google alerts aren't bad, but...
I would love to have enough clout and fame to have...
Google alerts
about myself go off. That will never happen.
It just seems, from what personality I could gather in my research... It just seems in line with what his personality type is to consume all media that mentions his name. But
wow.
Yeah, I digress. That's just an opinion. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know this man personally. I just have spent hours and hours
In his
deep
mind.
diving, and I just scratched the surface. This is so surface level. I swear you could write probably a full book about this man if you really wanted to, and you like really wanted to uncover every single thing that has gone down. Some fun facts about Phoenix Jones: he only writes in all caps, changes out of his street clothes in a secret hidden room behind a bookshelf in a comic book store, and he has a full league of superheroes by his side. At least he did.
I was
And at
gonna
what
say
point?
had.
Yeah. And at what point do they become sidekicks? I would like to know. At what point does a league of superheroes just become a superhero and his many sidekicks?
Well, there's allies. I mean, you know.
I know, but if you're
But
only
who do you think-
patrolling Seattle together, like the Justice League does not solely work and operate as the Justice League. I'm just saying.
In
I'm
one
just
city,
saying.
for sure. You're right. That's a good point. It's like Batman and all
I want to
his
know the line.
sidekicks, right? It's like Batman, Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl. Like they're all Red Hood, all of his sidekicks.
Yeah.
So when does the heavy hitter just start calling them sidekicks straight up?
I also think that I kind of breezed over this fact, but this was jarring for me to find out that he commits to the bit so bad, so hard, that he changes into his superhero costume in a comic book store.
I didn't believe that when you showed me that video.
There's a video of it, and it's so wild. He goes into the comic book store, the bookshelf swings open, and there's a hidden room, and he goes in there and changes into a super soup, which I don't know. Either that comic book store was doing something right, or they were also too committed to the bit. I don't know what it is. It's one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Phoenix Jones decided on adopting the superhero persona after someone broke the glass in his car. His son fell down on the shards and got hurt.
That's awful.
Apparently, several people saw somebody trying to rob the vehicle and did nothing about it.
Uh-oh.
And that is what convinced him to become a superhero. So, petty crime, some vehicle vandalism.
I mean, vehicle crime is pretty rough, especially when you're like a regular poor person.
Yes, it does,
But still, it's just kind of
affect you.
That's kind of a crazy reason to like. I would like. Why not just set up like a neighborhood watch?
Yeah.
Like to say, hey guys, can we look out for each other?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the next logical step of your car getting broken into is not becoming a superhero, and I'm speaking as someone who has had their car broken into. Also, his son getting hurt on the glass is sad, but
That's super sad.
But is it worth
Getting
putting the
bulletproof
cowl on?
Yeah, no.
Is it Martha and Thomas Wayne getting gunned down in Crime Alley levels of radicalization for this man?
Yeah, you're asking the real hard questions now. Like that, the only reason why Batman's Batman is because of something horrifyingly traumatic. This is like it's still bad, but it's not enough to like do this. Maybe when something bad happens, you say to your neighbors, hey, my name is definitely not Phoenix Jones. If you saw something weird, and you don't do anything, can you at least just have my number so I can come out and like make sure someone's not stealing from my car? Like just that little interconnection with people, because no one wants to put their life on the line for someone else's car.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, is that he like kind of attributes this to like the bystanders who didn't do anything was like what radicalized him, and it's like, well, you are going out with stab plates on, and so why are you expecting your neighbors to risk their lives for your property?
Yeah, and
that seems like the implication it's giving. I don't know if that's the intent or what, but
and ultimately it could be a very uplifting thing for you to know that your neighbors have your back, but I don't want my neighbors to put themselves at risk for my property. Maybe my kids, maybe living things, but not for just like my car.
Yeah.
Especially if like that person is armed or something like that.
But his car So he had this experience with his car, but it's not the first time that he acted as Phoenix Jones. That comes later when he and his friend were leaving a bar. Some people attacked his friends, and Jones called the police, but while the cops were on their way, he put on a ski mask and fought the, quote, hooligans. He called them hooligans.
Wow.
He fought the hooligans. That might not, maybe that's his word, maybe it's the source I used, which was like this profile on him. I cannot remember if they attributed it to him or if that was what they chose to use, but it's a word that I am including on purpose because I think that's funny. A funny way to describe them.
A hooligan.
A hooligan.
You know, like in Seattle, fights outside of bars happen like every Saturday and Sunday. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
That's how Phoenix Jones stayed in business. According to lore, also known as what Phoenix Jones says, but I don't super believe him because he seems to be sort of unreliable in his narration, in my opinion. Anyway.
Have to clarify.
According to his lore, the ski mask came from something... Oh, the ski mask was something the man who robbed his car had left behind.
I'm going to say I don't believe that.
I also don't believe that.
Because
why would you take your ski mask off in the middle of the robbery?
Stop the cap.
It's just my opinion. I don't know this man. I wasn't there.
I know. I shouldn't say that.
He might be telling the truth.
But I don't believe that. That's just me, though. I don't believe it.
He then fashioned this into his new mask, the one that he is known to see all the time, which does not look like a ski mask. So maybe this was just for this one time that he chose to put the ski mask on to fight back these men. I don't know. Anyway, Phoenix Jones chose Jones as a surname because it was one of the most common last names in America. And he wanted to present himself as the everyday person. You know, this idea of like everyday people can be superheroes is sort of what he was trying to come up with, I think, in terms of his name, because that message certainly gets lost, but really it's the idea of like no more bystanders, like take action seemed to be a big theme for him.
Interesting. And I feel like you're going to address this later, so I'm not going to say anything, but interesting.
Yeah, I know we already talked about this, but I did have in my notes, Jones said what really stuck out about the car incident was the amount of bystanders who did not do anything to help. And I did write down, and to that I say, people have knives. In Seattle, they will stab you.
It's like well known.
And in Seattle, they will stab you.
You will get stabbed. He just makes it seem like everyone was just standing around doing nothing. It's like no one wants to get killed. No one wants to die for a car, for like a Toyota Camry.
I didn't write the name down, but I'm pretty sure it was not like a Lexus. I'm pretty sure it was like a Toyota Camry. Anyway, Jones is not the first person, though, to assume a superhero persona. That honor belongs to Captain Sticky.
Oh, I don't like where this is going on.
He rose into power around 1974. Yeah. He wore a blue jumpsuit, gold cape, and boots, and drove around in the Sticky Mobile.
I don't like this one bit.
Actually, though, Sticky isn't too bad. I actually kind of like him because his campaign was against abuse in nursing homes, health insurance fraud, and he advocated for consumer rights. So really, he was just a mascot for like people's rights.
Which direction of insurance fraud? Is he more of the insurance companies cheating people kind of guy?
That was my assumption, yes. Yeah. If he's talking about abuse in nursing homes.
Then that means he's good.
Yeah.
He is good and based.
And he's advocating for consumer rights. Right. So I would assume that the health insurance fraud he's talking about is of the insurance companies variety.
Right.
Basically, he was a union guy in a mask.
There we go. That's more like it.
I'll just wrap him up real quick. He testified before the FTC in 1978.
Whoa.
And in front of Congress in 1979, in costume.
Whoa.
He was arrested in 1986 when he rented his house to a film crew shooting porn.
He is cool.
Yeah.
He's just.
And
a
what's
cool
up
guy.
with that, by the way?
There's nothing illegal about this.
I don't know
Does he
what the
violate
laws were like in
zoning code?
1979 1986. But since when is it illegal to rent out your house to let a film crew shoot porn? Is it because they're shooting porn, or is it because he didn't have like a filming license?
I bet you it's probably the filming.
But why would he be arrested then? Wouldn't they be fined?
Unless he took the money for it, because he's the one who's like leasing the.
Yeah, but he's not the one. He's not the one. Aren't they the ones that have to get the shooting rights?
Yeah, but I think that a lot of counties, depending on where you are, it's just depending on where you are. But a lot of counties, I think, prosecute the property owner, like the community member, as like a public show. But I agree with you; it's stupid.
So I'm wondering what law that was, and if that law has since been repealed. Maybe it's from where he is. I didn't write down where he was from, like where he was. But anyway, back to Jones.
Mr. Jones.
Jones went on to join forces with a few other superheroes around Seattle, and they became known as the Rain City Superhero Movement.
Oh,
which
God.
I think is a bad name because I want to call it a league every single time. And I never remember the name.
Rain City. Ugh.
Rain City Superhero Movement.
What a terrible name for a superhero group.
According to Jones, and I do believe this one, everyone in the team had military or MMA backgrounds. This group would patrol the streets at night for crimes, looking out for bar fights, vandalism, and drug deals.
Well, that really nips the everyday man energy out of the whole thing.
Oh yeah, having military or MMA. Yeah, this was a point where I was like, he kind of defeats his own thing.
His own logic. He defeated his own logic.
Because he does require them to have military or MMA background, which in some way makes sense, right?
Does. Yeah, it does. But
it's contrary to like the everyday person.
Yeah, the image that he's trying to portray is not what he's actually doing.
I think he lost the plot pretty fast on that, if I had to guess. Like once he realized, once you spend $10,000 on a super suit, I think you kind of realize that you are no longer acting as an everyday civilian when you have to carry stab plates on your person in a bulletproof vest. Just saying.
It's crazy, man. That's just crazy.
They loved the movement. The movement really seemed to love busting drug deals in particular, but most of the videos of them online seem to be Jones, in particular, getting into brawls in front of bars. So they really felt like they were doing something when they broke up drug deals and were stopping drug dealing happening on the streets. But for the most part, it seemed like they just got in fights outside of bars. Or at least Jones did.
Oh yeah, Dr. Jones.
Okay, this is a brief sidebar, but I do think it's relevant and it's important for everyone to know. Just in general, if you didn't already know this about Washington, you absolutely need to know about this. Washington is only one of 2 states in the entire country that allows for mutual combat.
Oh my God.
The other is Texas.
Oh, we live in the most freest state, one of the freest states.
Well, that's so rad.
Oh God. That's so cool.
Yeah. So Texas is the other one, in case you were curious.
We're in great company, folks. We're in the company of the state where you could literally just shoot a man and just walk away from it. No crime committed.
So if you don't know what mutual combat is, it's if 2 people agree to engage in a fist fight with each other, they can do it. It's perfectly legal as long as it's mutually consented upon and there's no weapons brought into it. You can fight. And there's actually an incident where Jones did challenge someone coming out of a a drunk person.
That's never good.
Yeah, to mutual combat.
That's a terrible idea on Jones's part.
He challenged him to mutual combat in front of the cops. And because it's legal, and obviously the cops know this, because why wouldn't they? It's one of the coolest laws we have. They just stood and watched the fight.
Classic SPD.
It's just a sick ass law. It's so cool. It's so
SPD said our job here is done.
I think it's so funny. So yeah, because like in other states, if you guys fight, you can both be charged with assault.
Yeah, on each other.
Yeah, and which is still true in Washington if you throw a punch without like agreeing that you were.
But you have to
fight,
openly, right? It's like a two-party consent.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You have to actually say, I agree to a fight with this person.
Yeah, you can ask somebody, hey, you want to take this outside? And if they agree,
Oh
you
my
can
God.
legally fight.
I'm just thinking about a little internal story, but this makes so much more sense now about someone asking us if we wanted to go to a parking lot and fight.
Yeah, that's true, huh? Wow. This is an aside again. Going on another tangent as if this episode is not already going to be so long. But what are their parameters on mutual combat? Like, when is mutual combat? Because I was thinking about this. Like, if you throw a punch at somebody and then they fall backward and hit their head on a curb and then they die, are you going to be charged with manslaughter still or not because it was mutual combat? And at what point does your mutual combat have to stop?
I think that there's like an actual rule about as long as
you think this is encoded somewhere?
Yeah, I think that that's actually one of the like actual laws about.
Oh, you know why I was thinking about this is because you said Colonel Sanders got off on killing somebody because of like mutual combat or defense laws.
Right. Well, it was defense. The guy did attack him first.
I still think that's...
And then Colonel Sanders then went full Red Dead Redemption.
Right.
And beat out a drum into the guy's body, like chest.
So that's why I was wondering if, like, in mutual combat, you accidentally cause a death, are you still going to be charged with accidental death, even though you were engaged with mutual combat? I would assume that you are implicitly agreeing to the risks of mutual combat when you agree to enter mutual combat. And therefore... one of those risks being potential death if, like, something happens. Like,
right.
You get knocked to the curb and hit your head.
Right.
The Rain City superheroes really reject the term vigilante because they weren't there to enact punishment, but to turn people over to the police. What do you think about that? Because
They're
I have some thoughts.
I'm just like, whatever, dude. These
I
guys
said... okay, by that logic, Batman is not a vigilante either, which I think we can all agree upon he is. So I think we can all see the flaws. The definition of a vigilante is a member of a self-appointed group of citizens who undertake law enforcement in their community without legal authority, typically because legal agencies are thought to be inadequate. And I think that sounds exactly like what they're doing here. So, Phoenix Jones, I would argue that you are correctly identified as a vigilante, regardless if you go out with the intent to punish people or to turn them over to the authorities.
Yeah, that's
kind of there in black and white.
If you, beginning of your essay, the Webster Dictionary defines.
Listen, I don't like to pull out the definition of things all the time, but this is by definition a vigilante group. Right. Like, it's what they're doing. I don't know what to say. At any rate, the superheroes also did homeless outreach. Although, one time Jones got mad at other superheroes for not being real ones because all they did was homeless outreach. We'll talk a bit about that later.
I remember this part.
Yeah. They also like to harass homeless men, so I don't know. Anyway, Jones' wife joined as Purple Rain, and she was focused on...
I'm sorry. That shouldn't laugh. It's just so fun.
Big Prince fan.
I mean, I love Prince, so the fact that she called her...
It is Rain as in Reign.
People in Seattle like to do that a lot.
Yeah.
That's what the soccer... is it the soccer team's name?
I don't think so. I don't know.
It's Seattle Rain.
I don't know. Maybe.
The women's soccer team?
She focused on domestic violence outreach. At one point, Jones opened up applications for new superheroes, but he rejected every application he received because he said the candidates seemed unhinged, and he rejected anyone who seemed to have, quote, violent tendencies.
I'm gonna just stop him right there.
I said, I don't know, man. Very kettle calling pot back here. Like, okay.
That's like some special forces guy being like, these guys just shoot up everything. Yeah, it's like, that's what you do too, dude. Like, what are you talking
about? Seattle City Attorney at the time, I don't know if he still is, but anyway, Seattle City Attorney Pete Holmes called Jones a, quote, deeply misguided individual. And it seemed like initially everyone sort of saw him as a nut job, but eventually some cops came around. So he got some cop friends.
Oh boy. Because who wants to be the commissioner? Fans, who wants to be the Commissioner Gordon to that guy's Batman?
I don't know. And Jones got a bit of a reputation and would regularly be asked for posing. Jones got a bit of a reputation and would regularly be asked to pose for photos with people. Once he even stopped a pursuit to take selfies with people, despite repeatedly saying he wasn't in it for the fame or recognition.
Constantly saying that. I do remember that part. He was constantly saying that. And I was like, no, you have to be doing that for clout, right? Like,
I don't believe you.
You have to be, right? Like,
and this is why I say he's not a particularly reliable narrator, because he'll say things like he's not in it for the recognition and literally stop a pursuit to take selfies with people. And it's like, dude, if you're not in it for the recognition, why are you stopping this pursuit? I know this because it was part of a profile, the same one that called The Men Hooligans, where he was with a journalist and he still did this. And it's like, okay, well, we see some priorities here.
I got a cheese for the camera.
As you can imagine, he wasn't universally liked within the superhero community itself.
Shocker.
Yeah.
All these guys with huge egos.
As we just said, he received criticism for being in it for the fame, obviously, but also for buying ridiculous, useless gear. Some examples of these being a net launcher, which he thinks he could shoot at people to like apprehend them as they're running away, I guess was the thought process, and a grappling hook. As in like Batman levels grappling hooks. Like you could shoot it on the roof and then go swing up there, I guess.
I'm figuring that might have been at the beginning or the beginning middle of his career, because like,
I think it was when he was getting a lot of attention.
Oh, because I was going to say, like, well, when I was in Seattle, I never saw any media with him, like, with gadgets. It was just him and his fighting skills.
Yeah, did I say, I don't know if I actually said the years. This was like 2011 to 2014 were the prime years of the
and those were
superhero, Rain City Superhero League.
Shake my head. I'm very embarrassed for Seattle because of this. I love the Seattle PD just being like, yeah, we'll just let this guy. Some of them just be like, yeah, we'll let this guy do this.
All right, so you might be asking yourselves, okay, we know about Phoenix Jones, but who is he really? Who is the man behind the mask?
No one cared who he was before he put on the mask.
Well, in October 2011, the world found out because Jones was arrested for assault after using pepper spray to break up a fight.
I think I saw that video when it came out. I think he did it underneath the viaduct.
He did do it underneath the viaduct.
I remember that video and just being like,
rest in peace, the viaduct.
Rest in peace, the viaduct. May their routes through the middle of downtown Seattle shade the entire downtown to a permanent darkness. Perhaps
the most iconic image of YouTube videos of Seattle at night.
Yeah,
from underneath the viaduct.
Children will never know the horror of having to walk underneath the viaduct you think it's night, but it's like 4:00 in the afternoon. That's the problem with Washington is like,
and how dark
it's already dark.
In the
night.
fall.
And then you get those brown sodium lights, and it's just like, damn, it's really dark down here. This sucks.
All right. So on October 13th of 2011, Jones appeared in court wearing a black and gray striped shirt over his superhero suit,
Oh boy.
and he was wearing his mask.
Oh boy.
When asked to remove his mask, he complied, though he put it back on after the hearing, only to remove it again, as he revealed himself to reporters as his real identity. So, look,
He really thought he
I just want to paint the picture of like him removing it in court, putting it back on as he left the courthouse to go to a press conference right outside the steps to take it off again.
He really thought he was on that Tony Stark shit. He thought he was like, I am Iron Man.
Man.
What a weird story. This is such a strange story.
So he took off the mask and he revealed himself as Ben Fodor, a 22-year-old MMA fighter.
Oh, wait a minute. A normal guy?
He was 22. You know what? Actually, in retrospect, he doesn't look 22 when he's wearing the mask.
He looks older.
I think people assumed he was like 42.
Yeah, he looked way older with the mask on, actually. Maybe the mask does work. Shit, I take it back. Maybe the mask works, because before he told me his age just now, I really did not know what his age was.
Yeah, so he was 22 when he was doing this.
That's
which in
crazy.
a lot of ways kind of makes sense,
Yes.
because you're like, oh yeah, a 22-year-old would absolutely do this. But it also makes sense why he's so obsessed with the media attention.
Yeah, what year did he get arrested? 2011.
So he's like 34 now, I think.
Wait. Yeah.
He's a little older than you are.
Because like I lived in Seattle in 2014 and 2015 or 2013, 2014, and 2015.
Yeah, he's like 5 years older than you or something.
And it's just like, this is what you were doing with your time, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess, I mean, everyone gets to spend their life the way they want to, but man, that's crazy.
Yeah, this is a senior in college going out, basically. I don't think he was in college.
No,
at
I don't
any
think
point,
so either.
But, the equivalent of a senior in college. Like your frat guys at the UW going out and putting on a superhero costume.
No, that's not above the frat guys at UW.
I want everyone to please take a moment right this very second to go on your phone and Google Ben Fodor without the mask. Without the mask, not Phoenix Jones, Ben Fodor, and please look at this man's hair. Because he has the highest high top you have ever seen.
He looks like...
If you can call it a high top, because it's not dense like a high top.
No, he looks like Guile from Street Fighter. Like, he has, like, a fake high top. Like, it's like a mushroom.
It's
like a crown.
It, like, adds 4 inches to his height. Minimum.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, like I said, I was like, oh, man. When I... Like you said, you could tell by his face he's black, but I was like...
Yeah.
Like, you gotta go, oh, man, we really doing this? Like, no one told you not to do this.
When revealing himself, he said, in addition to being Phoenix Jones, I am also Ben Fodor, father and brother.
Oh.
I am just like everybody else.
Uh-huh.
The only difference is that I try to stop crime in my neighborhood and everywhere else.
And I'm a professional fighter that can kill a man with his bare hands.
I think I have to look up toward the future and see what I can do to help my city.
My bad. I didn't realize you were still reading the quote.
I was.
No, yeah. What I said was not what he said. That's kind of crazy, though, that he, like, says all of this, but like you said, like, he has a very, like, elitist opinion about how to recruit superheroes.
Yeah, well, it's because I think that he then became, like, an official thing, and he's like, well... if we're gonna actually patrol at night,
it's like a branding exercise, right?
Yeah,
or is it like he just wants the best? Like if your life's on the line,
like I get it. I get it.
I'm not gonna.
But I also don't like what I don't know. His messaging isn't clear to civilians. I suppose It's like, are you supposed to call on these superheroes now, or are you supposed to take action? Which one? Anyway, the charges were dropped on Fodor, and he vowed to continue to patrol as Phoenix Jones. So let's talk about Fodor real quick, since we're talking about him. I mean, really, he's the guy behind it all. His amateur MMA career began in December of 2006, and he competed for 4 years, finishing with a 15-2 record.
That's impressive. That's very impressive.
Yeah. Later in November 2013, so after he started superheroing, Fodor would move into the professional MMA ring. Also, his brother's an MMA fighter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fun fact. In March 2015, Fodor signed with the World Series of Fighting and debuted in April under the name Phoenix Jones. The first fight he was in, he lost by unanimous decision, but he ended his career with a record of 5 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss.
That ain't bad at all.
So that one, his first fight was his 1 loss. After his secret identity was revealed, Fodor lost his job at a daycare.
Oh boy.
He thinks this is because of the superhero antics, and maybe it was, but I'm inclined to think it was because he was charged with an assault. That seems to be the bigger issue here.
Partially, that is the superhero.
Regardless of if it was dropped. I mean, it's pretty standard practice for a daycare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, so we know who Jones is and what he does, but unlike Superman, Phoenix Jones is not universally loved, as we kind of touched on earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So here are some controversies. Let's go ahead and talk about some incidents Jones was involved in. But also just some fun facts about his time protecting the streets of Seattle, and I put protecting in quotes. Quote, protecting the streets of Seattle.
You gotta do it.
I don't, in case you didn't get it, I am not his biggest fan. In fact, this whole thing of researching him was quite exhausting. And I just kept falling into rabbit holes.
Yeah.
So
I totally get that. I mean, from what you're telling me right now, it seems kind of exhausting just to be a third party has nothing really to do with this.
So let's talk about the things that other people didn't like Jones for. In 2011, Jones claimed to have his nose broken by an assailant while breaking up a fight. These are incidents that he was involved in. Not necessarily all criticism, but some of the things that he was getting into at his time and in his tenure of being Phoenix Jones. Okay, so in 2011, Jones claimed to have his nose broken by an assailant while breaking up a fight when one man pulled a gun on him.
Whoa.
And another kicked him.
Okay.
This incident, however, was never reported to the police, which doesn't seem in line with what he's been preaching about only trying to turn people over to the police. So why he didn't report this, who knows? Anyway, apparently he was treated by his private doctor to resolve this, which him having a private doctor is not... I'm assuming they mean PCP doctor.
Yeah, it's just a personal doctor.
But it also could be a private doctor in the sense that he had an MMA career, so maybe he has actual private doctor. I don't know.
That's a good point too. I didn't even think about that.
Let's see. On May Day in 2012,
oh boy,
Jones went to the Seattle courthouse because there were rumors of it being blown up. He was, quote, infiltrating the crowd. But doing so dressed in uniform. So I don't know how well that worked. Or why he thought it would be a good idea to go dressed like that. Anyway, regardless, Jones reported this to SPD, who did not take him seriously. The superheroes, so Jones and his movement, because they're not a league, they're a movement.
Ugh. Oh boy.
Him and the other superheroes went to the courthouse anyway and claimed to have recovered a failed explosive. I don't know why there's reason to believe. I don't know if there's reason to believe that it actually was because sorry, I wrote this weird. I don't think there's any reason to believe what they recovered was actually a failed explosive because you would think SPD would follow up on that or have any amount of concern about there being an actual explosive device in the courthouse, and there
Right.
was not. So I don't know what they found, but I don't think it was a bomb, in my opinion. And then I mentioned the mutual combat earlier, and it comes back around here. Because Jones did fight that guy who apparently hadn't offended anyone. And those who witnessed it condemned him because it was obviously an unfair fight. Both because Jones is an MMA fighter and because that man was drunk.
Yeah, I was gonna say eventually you're gonna run into a situation that if you're just doing guy on guy stuff, you're gonna eventually come into the fact that somebody coming out of a bar is not all there, and you are jacked up on a night's worth of a patrol,
Yeah.
waiting to knock someone out. That's gonna end poorly for you eventually.
There's also the infamous taco incident. Matt, do you know what the taco incident is?
I don't know what the taco incident is.
Okay, just checking. What are you doing? So the infamous taco incident, many people point to this as a prime example of how Jones is really into the into the superhero gig for personal gain. So as Jones describes it, he was trying to stop a drunk driver from getting into his car. He tried to give him a taco so the man would sober up, taco and water. The man refused it, and as Jones describes it, quote, got kind of violent. The man shoved Jones, so Jones pulled out his taser and fired some warning shots.
That fired a warning shot with a taser.
The police showed up shortly after. So if you kind of just left this man alone or like called the police about someone who's intoxicated trying to get in the car or like maybe wasn't so annoying about trying to stop this man from getting in his car, it sounds like he was being a little obnoxious about it.
Yeah.
Maybe you wouldn't have gone that way.
Yeah.
Some other costume people I had to find alternatives to superheroes. So costumed people.
We got an individual who's costumed.
They condemned Phoenix Jones, calling him delusional. See the grappling hook.
See the grappling hook.
Described him as this is what I really like. I thought that was really great. Ready, you'll like this. They described him as, quote, a combination of Batman and a mall cop.
Oh.
End quote.
So that's...
And eventually, people's general dislike of Jones even spawned a new kind of a super villain. Do you know about Rex Velvet, Matt?
I remember that. Yeah. Nothing really came out of that, did it?
Do you remember what he looks like?
No.
Well, okay. Well, Rex Velvet wore a velvet maroon suit, and he had a very particular mustache and a bowler hat, I believe. And that's, I don't know, not important, but it is a fun image.
You just described her like 70% of the Red Dead Redemption 2 characters.
Yes, I did. I did
Maybe
indeed.
Phoenix Jones could have become a gunslinger like Arthur Morgan. Now
Rex
that would have
Velvet.
been a turn.
Rex Velvet grew online and described himself as, quote, the people's supervillain. Velvet didn't take to the streets to cause mayhem, but he instead used his platform to publicly denounce Jones and put a spotlight on his behavior. Velvet saw Jones and the rest of the superhero crew as public nuisances, power-hungry, and self-obsessed. Velvet had a web series and some radio appearances, and a few more supervillains began to pop up, decrying the rise of real-life superheroes. But Jones refused to really acknowledge his supposed nemesis. He said, I live in the real world. When asked about Velvet once, he took himself too seriously to engage. Anyway, I think we can all form our own opinions about that quote.
I do think it's a little bit funny to me that, like, I get his real name is Ben, right?
Yeah.
I get Ben's, like, genuine frustration if he's genuinely frustrated at people considering him, like, a joke or something. But, like, he decided to go the most jokey route. Like,
Yeah.
Like, we're
Yeah.
not describing, like, a guy who founded, like, a militia or something like that. We were talking about a guy who, like, is dressed up, like, in like, a bulletproof suit and, like, does gymnastics and stuff, like, and fighting. Like, if you really were living in the real world, like, there are people who do vigilantism, but it's usually a lot less glamorous and very nasty. It can be very violent and very cruel and crude. So it's just interesting to me that he's like, I live in the real world, but then also wants to still approach this particular topic from a very fantastical angle.
Yeah.
I'm not a psychologist, but I would love to talk to one about this particular issue.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Jones really took criticism well.
What? A guy who beats up people doesn't take criticism well? I'm so shocked.
Yeah, when talking about the taco incident, Jones said, quote, "They're in my house. Any corner where people go, that's my corner, and I'm going to defend it."
That's kind of alpha, I'm not going to lie.
I find it obnoxious.
He said every space is my space. That's my space.
There is, however, one incident which Jones considers his biggest failure. That is in the case of Nicole Westbrook, 21, who was shot during a drive-by shooting in Pioneer Square. It's likely she was an unintended target, and she died from her wounds. Jones and his crew were around to hear the gunshots and ran to help, but they were unable to stop the person responsible or save Nicole's life. Her case is still unsolved.
That's too bad. That's very
Yeah.
sad.
So he considers this his biggest failure.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, very slowly, Jones and his band of superheroes began to decline. Jones's wife, Purple Rain, left. They also got divorced. I don't know when, but they were divorced as of now. Another member, Shockwave, left and claimed Jones was a con artist thief.
I do love the name. The name Shockwave. Like, is he a Transformer?
I don't know. I have no idea.
He's a Decepticon.
So Shockwave claimed that Jones was a thief because they were required to buy a bulletproof vest and gave Jones the money to do so. But the gear never came.
Interesting.
They also claimed Jones may have lied about having insurance for everyone in the group and criticized Jones for often going after drunk people. Later, Shockwave made a new organization called Echo.
You can't make this stuff up, guys. You can't really make this stuff up. I was going to say about the bulletproof armor, you can buy bulletproof armor online. Like, it's like...
Yeah, but Jones was supposed to do it, and apparently he never did.
You can get ceramic plates for like $3,000 in a plate carrier. Like, it's not insane to see that, especially up here in northwestern Washington with all these like militia types.
As people were leaving the movement, Rex Velvet made a call for former members to air their dirty laundry on his show, but no one really took him up on this because it was just me and my Facebook following. I followed Rex Velvet.
You really did?
I did on Facebook. I thought it was... I never liked Phoenix Jones. I thought Rex Velvet was funny as a response to Phoenix Jones, and I appreciated that.
Wow.
And so I liked his Facebook page.
I thought the whole thing genuinely was silly from the
it is silly, but Rex Velvet is fully aware that it's silly.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm just saying, like, the whole thing, I was like, the whole Marvelization of the human brain is a real thing right now, or was a real thing at that time.
Yeah. Jones was still out there, but with increasing scrutiny. Do I need to re-say that sentence?
Yeah.
Jones was still out there, but with increased scrutiny. He stopped what witnesses described as a clearly homeless man from stealing detergent, claiming there was a new way to get high from it.
Fact. I do not think that you can get high from detergent.
When he was talking about this, he claimed it was the worst part of his job, but, quote, stealing is stealing. And, hey, buddy, maybe don't do that.
Why would I'm going to be real. I have to stand back and go, why did this homeless person steal detergent? Probably to wash his clothes.
Stealing is stealing, but like a homeless person is stealing detergent. I think you can
He's
look
not
away.
even stealing, like, he didn't take money out of the cash register or something like that. He took, like, some Tide Pods or something, like.
And claiming that he's going to get high off that.
Come on, bro.
I don't know, man. I don't think so. He also allegedly left a guy knocked out on the street, and instead of calling the police, he tweeted at them.
Bro.
And he left his attorney's phone number with the unconscious guy.
Come on, man.
So from what I was able to find on the internet, it's not clear if he was the one to knock this guy out, but it does certainly seem that way because he left his attorney's card with him.
Oh,
so
say I did it without saying I absolutely did this.
Yeah.
Leave my attorney's card and my number on there.
Jones was also criticized when he had a comic book series commissioned about himself.
Oh boy.
But as an aside, oh yeah, he's definitely not in it for the fame, guys.
I was literally about to say, wow, definitely not.
Yeah,
not.
Definitely doesn't like the limelight.
Definitely not.
The comic book series featured Nicole Westbrook's murder.
Oh boy.
In a way that many said was distasteful, claiming he was profiting from a woman's death.
Oh, that's not good, dude.
Westbrook's sister did come out and support the comic with the idea that it would bring attention to the unsolved case, but my opinion, as someone who has had family members who have been murdered, okay, so I feel like I'm in an air of authority in some cases on this.
More than most.
Yeah.
Sure.
From what I have seen of the comic, and in my opinion, it wasn't about the murder. It wasn't about trying to solve Nicole's murder. It was using Nicole's murder as a plot point in Phoenix Jones's story.
Yeah, that's not good. That's never good.
So there's this thing in storytelling called a catalyst. And this is like Phoenix Jones' catalyst from what I'm able to see.
Right.
Like this is the point where he is his person is changed. Like this is spurring him into even more action and like taking it more personally. It looked like it was more about how Jones was affected by the murder than about the murder itself or any sort of like raising awareness or like attention to the murder and in order for people to like help solve the case.
Right.
So I lean towards the people who criticized him for this move.
Well, in all crimes where there are victims or survivors, the key in empowering and remembering who suffered is to center those victims and those survivors. And I feel like if you're going to make something about this, it should at best or at worst, it should be at worst documentary where you are stating clear facts about the situation and not your PR book.
Yeah. Yeah.
PR comic book. I don't know what else to say besides that. Like, that's just bad taste. Like, it's not even... Like, I don't have a problem with someone recording something that happened to them. Because I do think that this may have been a thing that was important in his time out there. But you gotta have taste about that kind of stuff.
Well, there's also a way to do it where you, like... Because he did experience this.
Right.
There's a way to include it where it's not distasteful, but from what little I have seen of it, what I could find of it, it seemed like it was kind of graphic and like exploitative in that sense.
Right.
And there's a way to do it tastefully.
Right.
Anyway, the comic book was eventually pulled, so it's no
You
longer
can't even get it anymore.
in print. No.
Well, there's that.
This list just keeps going, guys.
She's got a long... Guys, I know you can't see it, but she has just... Every time, it's like she flips the paper.
And these are... I don't think these are all of them. He allegedly threatened to beat up and kill someone because they hit on his girlfriend or wife, unsure. He called another hero who focused on feeding the homeless people a, quote, LARPer with a bag of food, not a superhero. I'm a superhero.
That's kind of messed up, considering that mutual aid is a very critical part of community support.
It's just like the ego on this man is crazy.
The thing is, in Michaela, I mean, I haven't talked about it a lot, but I've done some organizing in my time. Mm-hmm. And hearing him say that about a person who's like helping people directly is like he misses the forest for the trees 100%.
Yeah.
Like that's just frustrating because I know that people they work their whole lives doing nothing but feeding homeless people, and they are good people for it. Probably some of the best people we have.
But they're not superheroes, Matt. This is an alleged rumor that was going around. Allegedly, it was a well-known secret that Jones was actually drug dealing for quite some time as well.
Oh boy.
And someone accused him of keeping roofies on his person.
Oh no.
So anyway, those are the rumors.
Alleged. They're all alleged.
And all of this is happening between 2011 and 2014.
That's crazy.
There are so many things about it. There's so much going on.
There's so many.
Some of these might bleed into like 2015, 2016, but
there's so many crimes
so much happening.
There's so many crimes.
And I don't even know if this is all of them. I'm sure I could find more if I digged, because at the end of this, I was like finishing it and then I found more.
This
like
is
it just
so
keeps
exhausting.
going. And then finally, we're not done yet, but we are finally at disbanding the group in 2014.
Oh boy.
So this is Jones' statement, which he wrote in all caps, because again, remember, he writes in all caps because it's like a comic book. Did I mention that before?
You said that he writes in all caps. I didn't really believe that, but...
Yeah, when he's making public statements, it's only in all caps, which is really hard to read, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
So I converted it down just to
So
lowercase.
stupid. Yeah,
so
like you have to put it back in MS Word and be like lowercase.
He's really committed to it. This aesthetic of a stupid hero, a superhero. So he said about disbanding the group, quote, "I really thought that having a large group of civilian crime fighters was a good idea. I was wrong. It takes a certain type of person to do this job correctly. And unfortunately, I have inspired, worked with, and even taught some of the wrong kinds of people." Okay, dude, as if you were. Anyway, I just think that that's a little kettle black again.
Why are all these guys so bad at running, at being superheroes? But I'm very good, actually.
He continues, "As of today, the Rain City superhero movement is over.
Oh boy.
I will be patrolling solo.
I'm solo.
With supers I trust. I want you to know by doing this, I'm losing friends I have shared unforgettable moments with. But if I'm going to call myself a superhero, I must hold myself and friends to a higher standard."
He said superheroing. I answer to a higher standard.
So just keep that all in the mind. And then I'm going to preface this by saying this is alleged and it has not been proven in a court of law as of right now. But on January 9th of 2020, Jones was arrested for selling MDMA, which
Molly?
He was selling. If you don't know, that's
Molly.
He was selling Molly to an undercover police officer.
Damn, dog!
Allegedly.
You really did do that?
Allegedly.
In 2020?
Yeah, that's what he was arrested for, January 2020.
Wow.
January 9th, a week before we started dating.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So at the time of his arrest, police alleged that he and his accomplice, who was his girlfriend, were also in possession of 4 grams of cocaine, a scale with suspected residue.
He said, I got the triple beam. He said, I got the triple beam. Oh my goodness.
Several blue narcotic packages and unknown white powder substances weighing approximately 31.7 grams. There has not been a trial. It's unclear if he was ever formally charged from my research. I have a friend who works in the court system who thinks that her best guess is that he's on bench warrant. It's been 4 years now though, so I don't know how slow those drug charges are. So I don't know if they dropped it or what.
All he said was, all I need in this life to sin is me
Yeah.
and my girlfriend.
I can find his name or his accomplice's name in any official court documents on the free
He
website.
said,
So
Percocet. Molly Percocet.
okay, here's some things that I found out late. So I'm adding them here. He has a criminal record for failing to appear for hearings and driving with a suspended license.
Oh boy.
So
The easiest thing not to do.
he wasn't exactly the most upstanding citizen, even when he was doing this, because he has 6 charges of driving with a suspended license since 2008.
Mind you, people in Washington State, explicitly, one of the, in my opinion, easiest states to maintain a license, unless you have done something ridiculously stupid to lose it.
Yeah, Ben Fodor, aka Phoenix Jones, he has 5 pages of search results on the Washington court's website, which, granted, does include like traffic offenses. So I'm unsure what the varying levels of those are. It's probably mostly traffic related, since he has 6 charges of driving without a license. So it's not like he was the most upstanding citizen to begin with when he started this superhero thing. So he's kind of acting high and mighty for someone who has engaged in criminal behavior. Okay. I'd like to say that's all there is to know about Phoenix Jones, but honestly, the rabbit hole just keeps going. The drug arrest did not slow Jones down for a second because he was out and about during the 2020 protests in Seattle.
Oh my goodness.
Including being at CHOP or Chaz,
no.
depending on when in the timeline you are.
Make him stop.
He had to leave because he was, quote, drawing too much attention for a tactical advantage, he said. Initially, he described Chaz, I don't know why I switched it, but as, quote, a group exercising their right to free speech and to open carry firearms, unquote, saying he was only going to stop crime and that put people in danger, medical calls, and theft of personal property. So he was like for CHOP/Chaz. But then he eventually left. He said he supports CHOP, but you just can't enforce laws.
He said.
Oh, sorry. He said he supports CHOP, but he also said about it that you just can't not enforce laws.
He said.
So
the woke mob strikes again.
Yeah, it actually seems like the George Floyd protests spurred him out of retirement because prior to his drug arrest in January of 2020, he was kind of quiet on social media, and then he was quiet until the George Floyd protests started up. So
wow, I mean, what a time to get back on the scene, am I right?
Yeah, and today Ben Fodor is still trying to get back into the superhero game.
That's crazy. I thought he was out.
No, he's still in it. He's still patrolling. His Instagram is live. And I personally feel exhausted. And I am done. I'm so done.
Yeah, we never want to talk about this again.
Listen.
This is by far, we've talked about some really awful stuff so far and some really like funny stuff, and like this is by far the most boring an exhausting guy.
It's just, that's the thing, right? It's like, it's exhausting, and I think it's also because he has such a high opinion of himself very clearly.
Right.
That it's like, my guy, you are not really doing what you think you're doing, and I can tell that you love to be on camera.
I'm going to say this.
I know you. I know your type. I don't know you personally, but I know your type, and I know you love it.
I want to say this. You want to be a hero? You want to be someone who helps people and does better?
Sign up for FEMA training.
Be a FEMA trainer, or sign up for FEMA training and community emergency responses. Give blood. Join a union. There's a whole do food banking.
Do not spend $10,000 on a superhero costume.
Yeah, that's just a vanity project.
Yeah.
That's just putting yourself in danger just because you want to look cool and good in front of everyone. That's just a vanity project. That's not going to help anyone. These are all my opinions, of course. But I think that it's been spelled out through the history of man that people who focus on the systemic issues are actually far more effective at changing the world around them than beating up a drunk guy outside of a bar on Ballard
University
Avenue
Way.
University Way. That's just me.
Yeah.
That's just a theory.
A game theory. Yeah. I don't know, man. It just keeps going. And I truly could have had an episode twice this length about him, I think. But
Oh, go ahead.
I had to stay surface level. I had to give you some basics. We have been recording for almost 2 hours.
I'm giving you credit because you didn't. Because
Yeah,
I know he's got a long rap sheet.
Listen, this was not like depressing like a lot of our stuff has been, but it was not as fun.
He's just exhausting. Like
It's not as fun as I thought it would be.
He's genuinely exhausting. He's like a very hard person to actually focus in on. And he comes out of, in my opinion, one of the most culturally sterile times is like the superhero, which we all partaked. We all were there. But he definitely comes out of that time period where everyone thought that they could be, like I said, Iron Man or Captain America or Batman. And guess what? Turns out, no, you can't. Especially if you allegedly are selling Molly.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I mean, there was this one exchange I could have had us role play with him and some drug dealers that he was like breaking up. I told Matt about this. Where I can't get into it, man. I will say this. There's a very good article that I read, a profile, which I will include linked down below. I don't have the name immediately. I will add it in post. Michaela, find it and add it. Yeah, okay. So I would recommend reading It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Some Dude by John Ronson for GQ. It has some funny... It has that antidote in it. And yeah, that's if you want some supplemental reading, you want a profile, you want to read, I recommend that one. You could go down the rabbit hole as deep as you want to, but I'm coming up for air.
Kind of necessary at this point. You've kind of covered everything there could be.
Yep. All right, I think that's it.
All right.
Any closing thoughts, Matt?
Like I said, you want to be a hero, there's other ways to do it. And it doesn't require getting stabbed outside of a Chili's.
Yeah, or an Applebee's.
Seems
more likely to be an Applebee's in Washington.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, if you liked this episode, please share it with a friend. That would be so nice of you if you were able to share it with a friend. Or you can leave us a rating on whatever podcast platform you are listening on. Google Podcasts, which is going away, so I recommend finding a new one. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you got. You leave us a rating on there. We have a Gmail, whatthewashington@gmail.com if you want to send us a request for a topic to do. Matt, do you know what you're doing next week? Or in 2 weeks, I guess. Absolutely not. He does not.
Blank his face, head empty.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for this episode. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Catch you on the flip.